We have 5 people viewing now. At the moment, I'm still alone. Hi, Xia, can you hear me?
Hello, Olaf?
Hi.
Ah, you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Can I mute myself somehow?
You can mute yourself, and I could mute you too. How are you doing?
I am fine, excellent.
How did you find out about this webinar thing?
I follow up on you on Twitter.
Cool. Yeah, this is a new experiment. We are the Scrum Alliance has a program promoting coaches, or to find ways to promote coaches, and the idea is that many people who work in organizations where they've never seen a coach, they have no idea what coaching actually is, and we are doing these sessions to help people understand what coaching actually is. So given that you actually come from a place where you've experienced that, could you say in 1 or 2 sentences how you would see the benefits of coaching in an organization?
So I'm currently in the middle of something, so I'm not sure that I will be able to actively join, but if it will be in a few minutes, I will be happy to do.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. I will check if I can okay, I can change you back to a viewer, then you are not in the active session again. Would you want to me to do that? Then you're just
yes, no problem. I can mute. So I said I can mute myself. I will try it now, just for a second.
Yes, you are muted now. I can see that. Okay. So let's continue. So Madavi, Martin. This is interesting. This is like a fishbowl, just without empty seats. Everybody's muted. I'll unmute Martin. Martin?
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, I'm glad I can speak now.
Yes. Did you get an invitation? You should have gotten an invitation by the system with a special link that lets you get in right to me. Some twins in the background. They cry. Umbro. Data. Hello. Ellie attended the first webinar. Then we might have a task for you. This is funny. Martin, are you on video too?
No, I can't start video because it says that the host. You can start your video because the host has stopped it.
That's interesting. Why would I do that? Okay, I start recording now, which is one thing. I'm not sure if YouTube automatically records. So where do I allow? Okay, I make you host.
Okay.
And then you should be able to be on video. Well, this is bad. Why do?
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
So 2 of us. So Zoom has a special webinar mode, which we are exploring right now. And this webinar mode gives us the option to have a lot more people viewing the thing than are participating in the conversation. One side effect seems to be, I'm not sure if that is a side effect of it. No, I'm sure it's not a side effect of the webinar. It's a side effect of something that I have.
Well, it seems there are viewers that are able to view and panelists that are able to talk, and the host that can also show video.
Yes, and we should be able to. So I am able. I've done that to move people in and out. I currently do not know why it doesn't. Oh, could you make me co-host? I think you are the host now. I gave you the hosting rights and don't have hosting rights anymore.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay, and then I will let everybody join us so that everybody is in the room. If somebody doesn't want that, I can send you back. Can we see who's here? And then I need to figure out how to.
Let me be back. 1 second.
Yes, sure. Video settings.
Ambrose is here.
Hi, Ambrose. Good to see you, or good to hear you. At the moment, I can't see anybody apart from Martin.
Oh, okay.
And
but I can see.
Sure why that is.
Not sure why. Okay, hold on. Allow. You cannot start your video because the host has disabled it. Okay, well,
yeah.
It's saying that the host has disabled the video, so.
Yeah, that's what it says. And I didn't actively do that.
So host, kindly give me admin rights.
I'm trying to. I don't see an option to do that. Martin, do you see an option to allow people to start a video? Let me check. Maybe there is something on the. So, there it says video off. I wonder if this works. I would return the video off. That's a stupid default. Okay, so now the video is on. So I changed the setting, but I don't see an option to. So the best idea that I now have is that we stop and restart so that we have the video option. Because if we don't see each other, it's only half the fun. Does anybody disagree? Martin, what do you think?
Okay.
So we'll leave the meeting and rejoin, hoping that everybody then will have video. Is that okay to everybody?
Yes.
Everybody's muted, but I hope that works. Okay, see you soon.
Yeah, it's okay with me.
That's better. And able to see you, Olaf.
You can see, and I can see you, and I can hear you. That sounds Awesome. Martin needs to be promoted. Much better. Great. Okay. Hi, Irene. Good to see you.
Hi, Olaf.
So, I briefly repeat the context. I said it before, but A, I didn't see anyone, and B, I don't know if you were already there. It's not crucial, so I assume it's not a problem when somebody misses it. Scrum Alliance wants to, or runs an experiment, or we are part of an experiment team, and we run experiments to help people's understanding of what coaching is and what agile coaching is. And in that context, we are experimenting with this platform. We're trying a few features that we didn't have available 2 weeks ago when we did our last session. And yeah, we will be talking about leadership issues. So topics could include your own leadership challenges or challenges you have in coaching a leader you're working with. And the way this works, Zoom supports breakout rooms, so we can split into smaller groups. We use that feature soon to introduce ourselves to each other so that everybody gets to talk and to talk about what's bringing you here, what challenge you might have. And one thing that I'd like to do before is I noticed that there are at least 2 people on the call, I think, who've been in our last conversation. Is that true?
Can you repeat that again, please?
I heard from somebody in like 5 minutes ago that they have been in the last session. I think it was Ellie.
Okay.
And
okay.
I saw Nishant last time. So would you like to briefly tell us how that session was for you? What made you come back? What value did you take from it?
Last session was. Sorry, Eli, you go ahead.
Thank you. So I attended the first sessions. So I didn't have any idea about how the coaching goes or the question, how to ask the questions, and how we should not give our own point of view. Let the other parties find the solution for their problem. So it's about how to question and let the other get the answer to solve their own problem.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Nishant, is that correct pronunciation?
That's right. Okay. Yeah, apart from what just Ellie said, I also learned a little bit about, how to really, how does a real transformation works, because most of times I've seen where we try to push a transformation bottom up and we don't think get enough, executive support. That makes it actually very difficult.
Yes.
And most times, and this time I came back because, I just realized in some of the service organizations that I work with that rather than enabling people, they are more concerned about, the people utilization, how everybody, has something to do rather than be billable. So,
yes.
So they always ask back, okay, how about my resource utilization? How does it really help? you're saying that there might not everybody will have, a lot of things at their plate throughout the 2 weeks iteration. So
Yeah.
how am I going to justify that? So that is something which, is something I found it difficult to answer most times.
Yes, absolutely. So just two very quick things to that. So my take on agile transformation that don't have active drive by leadership, by senior leadership in the organization, is they can be fun, they can be entertaining, they can have temporary successes and do great things within a limited bubble, but it's never sustainable. I've never seen that work in a long time. And the key to me is when I talk to senior leaders who say, hey, make my people agile or make my organization faster or whatever it is, I ask them, is the company that you're currently leading, is that the result, the way it works, is that the result of your leadership? And they usually say, yes, sure. Sometimes some say, yes. What do you mean? And then my next question is, the company you want next, what kind of leadership is that going to need? Because if they don't change the way they pay attention to things, if they don't change the way they operate in terms of numbers, in terms of treating people, in terms of whatever it is they want to change, they need to change their attention. And the other thing is with the utilization. I live in Germany, and we are, as you might know, very obsessed with football as a country. So everybody understands soccer metaphors. And I ask people usually, when your favorite football team plays a game and the goalkeeper has no need to touch the ball, is that a good game or a bad game? And sometimes they think a little bit and then they say, that's a really good game. And I say, yeah, so do you still pay the goalkeeper? Sure. Would you put him into another game because he's not needed and let him play there instead? Right? So he's paid to have the team's back. He's paid because he's part of a team. And that's how we think about people in a team setting. And at work, we think so differently about people. And that's something that needs to shift in the mindset. And we need to find ways as coaches to talk to these people so that they can understand how an agile organization might be different from the organization that they currently have. As I just shared where I'm from, where are you from?
Hi, guys. Can I also contribute to what you just said, Olaf?
Absolutely.
Well, my name is Ambrose. I'm in from Johannesburg, South Africa. Well, I work in international industry, and you find that a lot of these execs still want to stick to their legacy system. They still want to stick to this waterfall style of doing or running projects. But what you find is they want to do agile. They want to be agile, yeah. But from the business requirement, from that process of the initialization process, yeah. Mm-hmm. Before that innovation, in fact, the innovation and initialization process, they literally do not put the whole team to be involved, yeah. Because at the end of the day, you bake a cake, you bring the whole cake to us, then tell us the flavors. But whilst you're baking the cake, we weren't involved with you baking the cake. So this goes across the board to say for a dev team, for an example, you find that your developers have got different ideas to how things can work. You can find that your consultant have different ideas to how things can work. Now, most important thing is to say that when organizations, leaders, as management, top exec, once they can buy the idea of going agile, yeah, it goes down the tree to say he who plays the piper dictates the tune.
Yeah, let's explore that in 5 minutes in a little more detail. Maybe your specific challenges is a good one that we can take as an example. Before we dive into topic in depth, I would like everybody to very quickly introduce yourself. Just say where you're from or where you currently are. I totally excited, or was totally excited the last time by the span of geography that we covered. So, Ambro, you're from South Africa. Did I catch that correctly?
Yes, I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Johannesburg.
Apologies, wow. I'm carrying my daughter because otherwise she's going to be crying, eh? I've got a set of twins, a boy and a girl, eh?
Awesome. Congratulations.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, my name is Martin. I'm from Argentina.
Yeah, I didn't say my name because I was here first. Olaf.
Hi, Martin.
Berlin. Hi, Martin. And Martin and I are leading this session.
Hi, my name is Irene. I'm from Germany as well. And unfortunately, I couldn't hear the person before me.
So I guess your mic is muted.
Yeah, there's something with your microphone.
Better like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Jorge Osorio. I'm from Colombia, but I'm calling in from Amsterdam. I'm working in Amsterdam right now.
Wow.
Welcome, Jorge.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Eli. I'm from Lebanon, Beirut, and I live there.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nishant. I'm from Bangalore, India.
Hello, India. It's really late where you are, right? Is it 1 a.m. already?
No, 10 more. No, it's 10 minutes to midnight.
10 minutes to midnight. Wow. I admire your stamina.
Thank you.
Okay, who else?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
This is Phil.
My name is
Israel.
Homero. I'm from Portugal.
Okay. Two at once. Kfir from Israel, I heard, and somebody from Portugal.
Homero from Portugal.
Hi.
Homero. Welcome, Homero.
Thank you.
Yes. I just noticed, Martin, do you have an option to set up breakout rooms?
No, I don't have here.
So maybe the breakout rooms are not available when we are in this webinar mode with people watching. There are two people outside. I move them in. So instead of doing the expectation and introduction in breakout rooms, we do it very briefly and we make it so that it's optional. So if you have a topic that you want to bring to the session, if you have something that you would like to have happen, this is your chance to bring it. Either something that is your leadership challenge, so you want to lead something, lead a transformation, lead a team, lead whatever it is, and or you are working with a leader and you have a coaching challenge, coaching a leader. One of these two examples would be lovely. Hi, John. You've been the volunteer in the last session, right?
Yeah, sorry, I was having problems with my communications. But yeah, hi, this is John from Los Angeles, California. I'm currently working out of our Guadalajara, Mexico office, so I'm traveling as well.
Wow, so many countries with so few people. It's amazing. Okay, so who wants to put a challenge out there? Three, two, one. Okay, I have an question. While somebody might be thinking about a challenge, John, the coaching that you had with Martin the last time, could you share a little bit about what difference that made in hindsight or looking back over the 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, actually found your guys' website and saw the YouTube recording and had a chance to rewatch that a few times, and really changed the way that I've been interacting with the various teams and managers here at my company. I had an opportunity to have a similar, I guess, coaching session, if you will, with one of the groups here. And instead of me spending the majority of the time presenting information and talking to them about my perspective, used a lot of the same questions that you and Martin shared in terms of asking them about the impact, what they thought was the goals of the other parties, and how they can bridge what it is that they think the other group's trying to achieve versus what they're trying to achieve. So yeah, in hindsight, I think it's a much better approach. I did get some feedback both ways in terms of some of the managers liked that newer question-based approach. Some of the other managers' feedback felt it took a long time to develop. And that might have just been my lack of experience in coaching. But all in all, I think for the long term, it's a much more effective way of helping people get to, where they are toward a more progressive.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, Homero, there will be a recording in case
you
want to watch it. Good luck with that. Okay, any challenge you want to address today?
I don't have a specific challenge. I guess a couple questions and your guys' input, and we can move around if somebody else has a challenge. But what are your guys' thoughts in terms of reporting structure for Scrum Masters? I guess what's ideal and why does it work? And also the differences between Scrum Masters and project managers, and how those responsibilities should either be taken care of by one person or if that should be split, and why.
That's an interesting
I have something
question.
similar as well.
Okay, say more.
So the teams I'm working with, I'm working with my company's internal teams who support the internal applications, and they insist that we coach the project managers to be the Scrum Masters. So they're saying, okay, we will help them to go through a training and come back, and then you coach them, and so that they can play the Scrum Master role. So some are good, some I don't know, because I'm yet to interact with those project managers yet. And couple of I interacted with, they are still playing typical project manager role by still driving a lot of things rather than being in the support mode. So I'm not too sure how do I really convince back. So I also have this problem, like how do I really say, okay, what you should do or what you shouldn't do, or sometimes I get into the prescriptive mode. I don't know. It's a challenge I'm facing, and I don't know what's way out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have John's questions about reporting structure and Nishant, is that correct? About how do I really say you should do this or you shouldn't do this, about PMs becoming Scrum Masters?
That's right.
Okay.
So I'm always hesitating. That's the moment where my coach role is challenged in situations like this, just as when that happens at a client, when somebody comes and asks, how should I do this? Because my strongest belief in general for organizations and for agile topics is there is no should. There is no right way to do things. There is a way to do things by the book, but I've not seen that book in real life yet. And I've been doing agile since 1999 and Scrum since, I don't know, 2004 or 5. And every organization is different. Every situation is different in terms of the challenges that you actually want to solve. And especially the people are different. So sometimes you can, one really good product owner I've worked with was the boss of the company, and he was the Scrum Master as well. And that's the worst thing you can ever do when you ask any book or any advice, to have a product owner be the Scrum Master and to have either of them be your boss. But it worked, at least for a while. It wasn't perfect, but it also was not, there was no pain involved. So some people can move from a project manager to a Scrum Master role, and some people just pretend they do and don't really change. Some people are project managers and work like Scrum Masters because they think that supporting people is the natural way to make a project succeed. And they just don't get why project management could be done any other way. So there are so many individual situations that it's really, really hard to say, thou shalt do it like this. That's a very generic answer or statement about this question. Coming back to John, who asked the first question, what was the thing that you want to achieve with the reporting? So is there any specific thing that you see, any specific challenge that you have, any specific benefit that you would like to have by setting it up in a certain way?
Sorry, long story short, yeah, we've had some organizational changes even within my department. And so, yeah, I'm actually here in Mexico meeting with some of the my new director and some of the senior management team in terms of talking about strategies and goals. And that's why I bring up the question. But I'd say a lot of our Scrum Masters right now are either a dev lead or a business analyst. Mm-hmm. And they're in both, they have very direct career paths. And unfortunately as a Scrum Master, even though they feel that those responsibilities and that role is important to the overall success of the team and success of the project, over time we see it start to decay when they get trapped in a situation where, as a dev lead or a business analyst, and those responsibilities come in direct conflict with their Scrum Master responsibilities, ultimately, since their career path, where they're ultimately judged and reviewed on being a developer or a business analyst, those will win out. So there's some challenges there. So we're seeing if we need to decouple that role, make it a dedicated role, and then how, from an organizational perspective, to present that to the rest of the team and the other managers.
Okay, so it's Go ahead.
When you say we, who are you talking about?
It's 90% me and 5% my manager, maybe 5% my new director, depending on his level of involvement and concern on the topic.
In terms of structure, the director is your manager. You report to a manager, and that manager report to that new director.
In terms of the hierarchy, yes, but day to day, my manager is in India and my director is here in Mexico. So I have much more direct interaction directly with my director than I do with my manager.
Okay, good. One thing that comes into my mind every time I start a coaching session is, why is this a concern for you?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, you know, with I guess when Scrum kind of gets, or any process, I'm just kind of referring to Scrum by name, kind of gets thrown out of the window due to, you know, other priorities, or, you know, kind of creating a new feature or project. I feel the team ultimately suffers. You know, we start to see production decrease, especially over time. We start to see morale decrease almost immediately. So those are the issues. I'm trying to mitigate as much as possible.
Why are you doing that? What for?
From you know, one of my objectives or kind of role is, you know, to increase the overall productivity of the department and the organization over time. So there's certain metrics that we collect in terms of deliverables month over month. And we see moderate increases over time. When I started first taking this role about a year ago now. But, you know, it's because of the demands that a lot of the groups are under, started to either plateau or taper off. So seeing what we can do as kind of a next step to increase our productivity.
And how is this reporting structure for Scrum Master related to that concern and your objectives?
Yeah, so there's a conflict of interest, I think, when a Scrum Master is a business analyst, you know, they're reporting into the product owner or product manager. So, you know, when a product manager has a new feature request that they think is priority, which is everything, you know, that automatically gets injected into the sprint backlog. If the Scrum Master, as the business analyst, tries to say no, you know, the product manager, who's their direct manager, say, you can't say no to me, right? So, you know, like I said, we start to see the overall, you know, ideology of Scrum and Agile start to break down very rapidly in many instances. And same thing happens if they're a dev lead. You know, if a dev manager says, you know, this is now your #1 priority, drop everything that you're doing, even though they have responsibilities to the team. Their manager's priority is always going to take precedence.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think some groups call it thrashing, but the starting of something and not finishing it, but stopping and moving on to something else. And so I think in order to increase the productivity overall as an organization, we need to minimize thrashing.
Okay. And what did you do about this in the past?
In the past, we were kind of limited to training in terms of working with the Scrum Masters. So we've asked every product manager to identify a Scrum Master on their team that we can work directly with. Throughout the last 6-12 months, we've done a series of various trainings in terms of proper process and, as Olaf said earlier, what that magical or mystical Scrum by the book is supposed to be, and trying to hold them accountable to it to the best we can. Going back to the original topic of the reporting structure, you know, it's at the end of the day, if we're trying to hold them accountable to following the process that we've established versus their manager destroying the process due to their priorities, their manager is going to win out every time. So we think maybe that has to do with the reporting structure, maybe not. So that's a couple of the ideas that we're starting to explore.
So from a Scrum perspective, when we talk about the roles, we do a lot of emphasis in the Scrum Master not having higher or lower hierarchy position than the development team or the product owner. Or at least I promote that kind of scenario where they rather collaborate. They collaborate rather than report in between them. So if you think about something like that, what is preventing you to achieve that?
Yeah, so one of the points the manager brought up, it's mainly limited resources, right? So we don't currently have anybody in that Scrum Master role that fits in that, I guess, sweet spot that you described earlier, where they're kind of viewed as an equal. Something like that might require a major reorg on our part, and that's a tough selling point, especially right now. Maybe in the future, we might be able to get something like that done. But yeah, the main obstacle right now is limited number of resources, right? So we need somebody to play that role. We have business analysts, we have dev leads. We don't have anybody else, so it's going to be one of those two for the majority of the teams.
So if you have that limited availability of people, and you know what the sweet spot is and where you would like to reach at some time in the future, given this situation, what thing do you think is the riskiest in doing this the way you are trying to do it now?
Yeah, so the current risk, like I said, is we go back to this constant thrashing, right? We go back to, when a dev manager or product manager has a priority, the process, or what we trained as the process ultimately falls apart.
And what can you do to minimize that effect?
In the short term, what I've done is I've actually taken the role as Scrum Masters for some of these teams to work alongside their dedicated Scrum Master. And I think a lot of it's also, personality, and it could be reporting structure as well. I don't have a problem saying no to the product manager that wants to add, 5 new user stories, with 2 days left in a sprint. But their current Scrum Master might, and vice versa. So in that context, it's been working well. But we have 30 product teams or delivery teams that we work with, and one person can't be a Scrum Master for 30 teams. So it's kind of like picking and choosing who I want to work with, and it's also a limited engagement. So it might be 1 or 2 sprints or iterations that I'm working with them, and then it goes back to whoever their dedicated Scrum Master or whoever that dedicated person that's playing that role is.
Could you find 1 or 2 that do a similar job like you do as an experiment for a limited amount of time, and then measure if that makes difference? So that the investment in people would be something that actually has a price for the business. So they invest money, time of 2 employees in this case, or 1, and they actually, you actually measure how that makes teams faster.
Yeah, that's something that we're starting to identify, like who those people. So we're looking for people that have a high level of engagement and involvement, specifically with what we've been trying to do. So like I said, it's just been a little bit challenging, but I think with my director and getting his influence and resource, we might be able to get some people identified in a short order here, maybe in the next week or 2. There's one of the things that came up during our meeting earlier today, identifying who those people were. He was supposed to give me a list today.
And how will you know that it's going to be successful?
I think as you mentioned earlier, there's some key metrics that we're collecting now in terms of key velocity, planned versus delivered user stories, things of that nature. So we would like to see those metrics increase, with those specific teams that we're working on. And also, metrics like unplanned user stories and see if we can minimize things of that nature and try to see if we can minimize the disruptions while maximizing the productivity and showing a direct correlation to, I guess, the bad behavior that we're trying to change from a lot of the managers and dev managers.
I noticed that we have about 15 minutes left in our time box, and I would like to move to Nishant or somebody else's story. So, John, is this an okay place to stop at this point?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. I'm curious how that is going to work out, and I like that you apparently have already been working on the thing that I suggested. So, it's a nice coincidence, and yeah, I hope that works out.
Thank you.
So, Nishant, you had the project manager Scrum Master transition rather as a challenge, not so much the whom these people report to, right?
Well, I think after listening to John, I believe it's also the same, because in India, typically, job level matters a lot. Mm-hmm. So if somebody who's lower in the hierarchy and they're trying to push back, saying no to when somebody says, okay, do this also as part of your sprint, it always goes back to that scorn. And sometimes, so people are sort of taught to take that personally, but at some point or other, in some other occasion, that will come up. You said no to me sometime earlier, so that's why I'm saying no to you now. So that kind of things do happen. I've seen it, and that's where I go with what Martin said, where we have to have people who has that authority, who has used that authority before to play the Scrum Master role, because they have they used to say no. But the problem with service organization is that nobody says no, because we are all serving the client, and whatever client says, that's the golden rule. So one of the rules is that you don't say no to a client. You don't say no to the business. Well, then, so that makes this transition also a little difficult, because then they are project managers, but they don't have they don't express authority of saying no or pushing it back, saying that, no, look, we don't have the capacity or we don't have the bandwidth. So I'm trying really hard to push that into it, saying that, so you have data, you have your hourly 2 weeks, you have, how much work you can accommodate after you do a planning. Use the data, and, without data, it is very difficult to prove or tell something back. So right now, that is the approach you're taking. So I made it compulsory that everybody fill up the team gets the capacity planning sheet ready, and after the sprint planning is done, see how much it is they are occupied, and use that data and say publish that, so that nobody will come back and say, okay, hey, you should do this also. Let's look, we only have this much. How do you say I can do more?
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying now.
Nishan, why you said you can't say no? Why is that?
So, that's more of a cultural thing, I think. Is that if the order comes from the top, traditionally we don't say no. Our idea is that, you have not supposed to say. It has been out of, it was much worse long time back, but now I think people are still changing nowadays. But 5-6 years back, if a manager comes and says, okay, add 1 or 2 things to your thing, people definitely say yes, and they drop everything and they start straight away to that.
Okay.
Okay, so Nishan, so does that mean that you don't have backlogs? You don't have a product backlog? Because ideally, ideally, what you would expect is that when you have a product backlog, whatever comes from your product owner gets to sit in the backlog. We accept it, but it sits in the backlog. Say that if the sprint already started or we already started sprinting, he or she has to wait till that sprint ends.
Right. So that is something which we can talk about, but in reality, people find it difficult to accept that.
And
so I think absolutely, you're very correct, Nishan. Where this comes in is to say, from an exec level, let's say for an example, from an exec level, everybody's aware of how Agile or Scrum should actually run. And like I said earlier, he who plays the piper dictates the tune. So basically, from an exec level, if we literally, if I can use that word to say enforce that Scrum process, then it means that from whatever waterfall project that you come from or waterfall background that you come from, when you come into Agile Scrum, you tend to understand that once we start sprinting, we say that, okay, we've taken, let's say, 5 user stories, for an example, to be delivered at the end of that iteration. Yeah, it means that within that 5, if we finish before the end of the iteration, we can pick up that story. Yeah. But when I say we, it means that the whole dev team agrees to say we can pick up the story and deliver it by the end of the sprint.
Yeah, we don't always have such a situation where we have that level of clarity and that level of agreement to these rules. And I think the case that Nishant is describing is one of those gray area cases.
Absolutely.
A lot of my reality.
The rules, as Ambrose said, are clear, but we are now not talking about the rules, but about culture accepting or not accepting the way the rules are established or promoted. So my question was about culture. I understand your explanation, Nishan, that how that is, but it doesn't answer my question about why people doesn't accept a no. What is, let's say you say no to somebody you are thinking about, okay? Someone that won't accept a no. What is that person losing when you say no to that person?
Okay. So I think people are a little hesitant because, and they say no because they feel that, you know, when I say no to somebody, we are kind of in a way offending that other person. And also the idea is that.
Say again, please. Say again.
Okay, sure. So what I said to say is that when we try to, when I'm saying no, the mindset in the mind, I'm trying to say, okay, I should not say no, because when I say no, I might offend that person who's telling me, okay, can you do this also? Because it's mostly like, you know, it's all the hierarchy still coming into picture. See, it's a challenge I'm facing, but I'm not saying like this is something stopping the team or people. But right now, you know, the teams, there are 10 teams I'm working with. Most of them have this challenge, like, you know, because they just started the journey like a year back. They are not even halfway through. They just started. So they are now struggling with this aspect. Okay, what will I do when I have to say no? How can I say no when we never said no before?
Okay, and I think we are having a conversation now. And when a person can feel offended because of the no, what thing do you think that is offending that person?
Okay, I believe it is more like, you know, you're a junior. How can you say no to me?
Okay, so we are talking about a knowledge or experience, respect.
And of course, not just knowledge and experience. I would say the job level, the hierarchy where you're placed with.
Okay, so it's not junior. Well, at least when I think junior, I think about a person that doesn't have enough experience. But you are actually talking about a different hierarchy level. Is that correct?
That's right.
So what does it mean that a person in a lower hierarchy position says no to you that are on a higher position? What does that mean, Nishan?
So if you ask me, it means to me that that person really doesn't have the bandwidth or the know-how of how to get the thing done, and they're biding time sometimes, or so I want to really believe that, you know, they're really occupied at this moment and they don't have bandwidth to take it more. That's what I want to believe, and I always verify that by looking at their, you know, sprint backlog and the capacity. And that's it. And otherwise I will ask questions like, okay, why it is it because it is not clear to you, or is it because you really think that something else is gonna be a block? I mean, I just want to make sure that, you know, that I know everything what the other person thinks, so that I can make a better judgment out of it. So I try to convey this message back to them so that you shouldn't. So I'm not saying that people feel offended, but the mindset goes that he or she make it offended, because that has been the traditional cultural mindset from this part of the the world.
Okay.
So that
you said something 2 or 3 minutes ago, or maybe 5 minutes ago, that made me curious. You said a few years ago it was much worse, and it's changing now. So the traditional way of how people think, the traditional mindset is changing already. So you're seeing positive indications.
Right.
And what made me curious is, if you're seeing progress, instead of thinking about, oh, we can't say no, can you turn around and think about, maybe identify specific people, specific situation, whatever it is that makes the change? Can you do more of that? Can you do more of the new thing? Can you amplify the good new behavior that is already happening in the organization?
Right. So right now I'm trying to find some poster projects where I could use that as an example and showcase around. So when I say it is changing, but you need to understand, like, people who are in the industry for 15, 20 years and having a position of delivery manager something, they still come from that old mindset. So they still have, so my effort a lot of time goes in telling them or convincing them why they should change fast rather than expecting, because the new set of people, they always learn these things pretty fast and they're always open, and if they don't like, they always say no, and we still push, they just leave. So we don't have an option there. But the problem is that, but it's like we call it, what you call the generation gap. So we still have that, people who are like 15, 20 years experience and people who are like 4 to 5. That 10 to 12 years of gap itself is like a huge one, by the way in which people approach both their attitude to life, all those things. So that is how, if you find a new set of people like 4 to 5 experience, they are ready to say no. They don't really care. They said no means no, because I don't have the bandwidth, or I don't know what actually you're asking for. Give me more clarity, then I will say whether I can do it or not. So they are okay to say that. But there are people who are in that 8 to 10 or 10 to 12. They still find it, so they're like caught between the devil and the sea. So they don't know, okay, these you guys are saying no, should I follow them or should I just say yes to what my manager says? So you see, I have all variety of people in that team hierarchy. So that's make it more challenging. But then more and more people are coming who are new, and they are very eager to learn, eager to put their stamp on how things are done. So that makes things easy, because people have to adapt now, because they don't have a choice, because this is like, the more you insist, the more we resist.
Nishant, is there something that would make it safer or easier for the people to say no? So is there a way that you could probably help them come up with a solution or a frame for them that wouldn't put all the blame on them in their perception? I mean, it's all about perception, the way I hear it.
Yeah. Right. So most of my time, I spend with the leaders or the senior member of the teams who are still hesitant to say no, and trying to, help them understand, no means fine, but it's just that we are not saying no indefinitely. We're just saying that we cannot take it now, but we can always look at tomorrow and, still adapt that. So it's just that, we need to present them the option so that people can choose from it, something which they can accept it. So people think that if I say no, you're saying it's like outright no, that is, there's no other option. But what you're saying, no, just doesn't mean no. It's just that I cannot do it now, but my team can look at it tomorrow, because tomorrow we will have bandwidth when we are done with our current things in hand. So the conversation, we are trying to steer towards that direction, so that people are still in that, collaborative mode, that rather than getting over saying that, okay, you said no to me. I said, it's not no to you today. It's just that we are biding time so that we can accept that what you are given. Because we agree that priority, we agree that where you're coming from, we agree the pressure you are in, but you also need to understand where we also stand. So that's the conversation we are trying to build between those people, so that both sides are satisfied.
I like very much what you just said about the not now. So the adding these 4 letters to the no makes it much easier to say and to hear.
Right.
And offering options, right? Instead of just closing the door, saying, oh, look, so we're working on this now. If we would stop this, that would really slow things down, clutter up all the things, etc. That would create a lot of waste. But if you wait for 2 days, we can do a piece, and then we can do another thing next week. If you offer things like that, then it becomes a negotiation and a conversation. And that's a totally different kind of thing than saying no. Because I know I've been in situations where I've been challenged to say no, and that's not only in India difficult. It's the difficult situations in every country, I think, and in every family where you can't say no or think you can't say no. And changing that dynamic, changing the conversation into something else and offering options, what could we do instead? I think that's very, very useful as a general strategy. Right. Thank you very much. Our time box is up. Martin, would you like to summarize something?
Yeah, I would like to ask Nishant in order to finish our time box in a very concrete way. What thing do you think you can do next about the conversation we had just had?
I think it's more to, I strongly believe it's more to do with trust between the leaders and the development team. So I'm going to spend more time on getting the trust factor sorted out. And I think that is that's the first step I'm going to take. And then maybe I'll come back and share with you, how it went. Maybe like in the next 2-3 months.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Nisha. One thing that I think it's important, that's a person, I don't know if I mentioned that on our last webinar or pair coaching or in another group, but it's about neuroscience. There's many people now in the research field of neuroscience about the things that really change the way people do things, and they sustain that it is the new formation, the new networks of neurons that are being restructured, but that allows people to do things differently than they are used to do things. That's change. The change in behavior, change in beliefs, and the only thing that helps our brain build those new networks is when people realize by themselves about something, that what we call an insight, and that doesn't happen when somebody from outside tells you what to do. Okay, so I just would like to reinforce that and the importance that is for coaching, that the solutions and the actions comes from the people that are being coached rather than from the coach, right? So that's something I wanted to say.
And that's another thing that reinforces our previous statement with about the by the book. Do we tell people how to do things? So if we tell you how to set up your reporting structure or how to make somebody make the transition from project manager to Scrum Master, that won't work. If you come up with something that is your insight, the likelihood of it working is a lot higher. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, Martin was referring to neuroscience, not neurolinguistic programming, but NLP is also related to neuroscience. It's all about the brain. That's true, and big topic. Thank you very much for showing up. We haven't created a new session yet, so scheduled a new session yet, but I guess there will be one. And as you found us twice, you'll probably find us again. I'm excited how this thing is going. I wonder if the streaming thing is more important than the breakout groups. I really like the breakout rooms, so I'll probably go back to the normal version of Zoom.
Yeah. And if anybody happened to be at the Scrum gathering on the next week, not the other week, right?
Yeah, the week after next, Scrum gathering in San Diego. Go come and meet us. Yes.
Yeah, come look for you guys.
Okay.
Okay, everyone.
Have a good day, or have a good night, or whatever time it is where you are.
Have a good whatever, but good.
Have a good time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.